Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Like I said, my name is Dr. Courtney Wiersbicki, and today we will be doing the virtual forum for the Rockford Fire Department for the upcoming fire chief position. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope that tonight offers the members of the community an opportunity to see these 5 candidates. I will be moderating this forum tonight. There are a few logistics to go over now that we have begun. First, microphones and cameras are disabled in order to reduce noise and any feedback so that we can accurately hear the candidates. Next, we are recording this forum and presentation, and you will be able to rewatch it after it is posted. We will make this available tomorrow. Next, each candidate will have a set amount of time to respond to 5 different questions, and they will have approximately 15 minutes total to respond to questions, so about 3 minutes per question. Then the candidates are being held in virtual holding rooms until it is their time to respond. Therefore, they are not able to hear the other candidates' responses to the questions. And then they will leave after their assigned time slot. And then there is a slight delay from when we transition the candidates to and from those holding rooms. So just bear with us as they rejoin the larger meeting and we work through any technology issues. Next, we will have 5 candidates tonight. First, we will have Matt Cordonier, then we'll have Scott Bavery, then we will have Jeff Altoff, then we will have Rebecca Tayo, and then we will have Timothy Morris. We did receive many questions for tonight, so thank you to everyone who did submit questions. We appreciate it. We are not able to ask all questions tonight, and no one can provide any additional questions tonight, but we have attempted to touch on as many of these topic areas as possible. And then we encourage you to come to the meet and greet on October 6th at the Riverfront Museum Park in Kresge Hall. And then that is open to the public from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And you can reference the city's website for any additional information. And then with that, we will get started with the first candidate. So like I said, bear with me as we get this going. Okay, so candidate Cordonier, can you please turn on your microphone and your camera? You should have the ability to do that.
Go.
Okay, we can see and hear you. Are you ready for the first question?
I am, thank you.
Okay. So the first question, what unique qualities, experiences, or perspectives do you have that set you apart from the other candidates? Please feel free to provide examples to illustrate your points. Please try to keep this to response about 3 minutes. You may begin.
Great. First, I'd like to just say that I'm honored and humbled to be here tonight, and I greatly appreciate this opportunity. In terms of the unique qualities, experience, and perspectives that set me apart is I started like everybody else on this job as a line firefighter and paramedic and moved progressively through the ranks, gaining experience both in operations and our prevention division, understanding everything that we do that's not response related, but more community centered in terms of our community risk reduction and outreach and recruitment efforts. I'm a credentialed leader. I started my education at Rock Valley College. I hold an associate's degree in fire science, and from there I continued my education, getting a bachelor's degree in fire administration, and I'm completing a master's degree in fire executive leadership and public administration, which I will complete in the spring of this year. I also have proven crisis leadership. I have extensive experience in emergency preparedness and disaster response. I've been a huge part of our response to the COVID-19 pandemic, working collaboratively with community partners to include the Winnebago County Health Department, the National Guard and Salvation Army. I served as the logistics section chief in the emergency operation for the duration of that response, where I was responsible for securing PPE for our entire community, standing up drive-through testing sites, and ultimately opening and overseeing the community's mass vaccination clinic. That I oversaw roughly 200 people that worked in that operation every day, and we served 2,500 people a day, and that's something I'm incredibly proud of. Beyond that, in terms of disaster preparedness and emergency response, I've overseen a lot of our large regional disasters, to include the Chemtool fire, flooding events, including last year's flash flooding that was ultimately deemed a federal disaster, and working with our state and federal partners to make our community whole again. I also have extensive executive leadership experience. For the last 4 years, I've served on the command staff as our logistics chief. And in that role, I oversee all of our physical assets, and I'm largely responsible for developing and implementing, overseeing our budget, which stands today at $78 million, $60 million of which is governed by our collective bargaining agreement and covers personnel wages, overtime, and benefits. The other $18 million I have direct oversight of, and I utilize that to make sure that our department and our people have the resources that they need to accomplish their job, keep them safe, and meet the needs of our community. I also oversee all of our capital projects, our infrastructure. I'm currently overseeing several multi-million-dollar projects, to include the future relocation of Fire Station 10, valued at $10 million. We're completing the construction of an emergency operations center valued at $1.5 million, which was largely funded with a federal grant that I was instrumental in getting. We're updating a very antiquated public safety communication system that was over 40 years old, and we secured $4 million in funding for that.
And then if you could wrap up your response.
Very good. Yep. And I'd like to just end with, I take a relationship-centered approach to everything that I do. I'm a lifelong resident of the Rockford community, and I bring strong, authentic ties to this this role. And I plan to leverage all of that on day one and be an effective leader as a fire chief.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to question 2. Question 2. Large call volume is an issue the department faces every day. There are several construction projects of apartment complexes, large packaging plants, assisted living facilities, and urgent care centers either under construction or planned for the near future. How will you ensure the department is able to manage its resources to provide these services when the department already feels overstretched? Again, about 3 minutes, you may begin.
Sure. So yeah, we are currently experiencing a lot of our resources are stretched thin, and that has been the case for some time. So as part of the executive leadership team, we've developed several strategies to help mitigate our call volume on the front end. That includes 911 call triaging, where we're taking the call in the 911 center and we're determining if that's a true emergency or if there's another more appropriate resource that we can send to meet that need. We just recently, through a collaboration with the Winnebago County Community Mental Health Board and UW Health, hired 2 nurses in our 911 center to help take some of those calls and, again, find a more appropriate resource and work with our citizens to make sure that their needs are met. We also have a mobile integrated health program, again, that's in a collaboration with UW Health, and they're partnered with a nurse, where we identify super users of the 911 center, and we go out and we meet with those folks and we try and figure out their underlying needs and put them in touch with appropriate resources. Something that I see that we could do in the future to improve on that is through public education campaigns. We do a great job in fire prevention, in education and outreach, and I think that we can take what we've learned in our successes from that and apply it to the EMS side of the house, where we will educate the public on the appropriate use of the 911 system and what additional resources are available to them aside from an ambulance transport to the emergency department. In the last 5 years, we have seen a 17% increase in our calls for service. So while we are on the front end attempting to reduce that call volume, we do need to look at how we add resources in the future. And I've been very successful in my current role in working with the city administration, our finance department, and our city leaders to show a need for resources and back that up with data. And I plan to do that in this role as fire chief.
Does that conclude your response?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I believe you may be muted.
My apologies. Question 3. As the chief of the Rockford Fire Department, what specific actions would you take to improve mental health support, strengthen morale, and manage workload demands effectively? Again, 3 minutes, you may begin.
Great. Yeah, I'll start with the mental health support aspect. We're currently making strides in that, and we do recognize that this is a growing concern in our industry, that burnout and compassion fatigue are very real things, and that's having an impact on our folks' mental health. That's something that I take very seriously. I sit on our peer support team currently, and I 100% support that program, and I will continue to support that program. What I'll say is I recently read a study that surveyed 1,200 first responders and asked them what they want in terms of mental health support. And their number one response was annual mental health check-ins. Their 10th preference was peer support. So again, while I truly believe in that program and I'll continue to support it, I think it's important to start having conversations with our folks about what they want instead of making assumptions. So that's what I'll look to champion on day one, creating wellness roundtables. We'll talk about a host of topics to include mental health support. In terms of strengthening morale, I believe that where you have strong leadership, you have strong morale and a strong culture. And something that I would look to do on day one is bring in an outside consultant to help us with that. It's something that we've missed the mark on as an organization in the past. We are fantastic at training our folks to respond to all different types of emergencies, and they are the very best at what they do, and I am incredibly proud of the men and women of this department. But I believe that by giving our people the tools to effectively manage people, to be strong leaders, to hold people accountable and have the tough conversations, I think that will only move our department that much further. And in terms of managing workload demands effectively, I just spoke to several initiatives that we have underway and will continue to try and reduce the call load on the front end while looking to add resources in the future. And that concludes my answer. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Then we will move on to the 4th question. In 2026, there could be a large number of retirements, especially among higher ranks. How would you cultivate strong leaders in the Rockford Fire Department? Again, 3 minutes to respond. You may begin now.
Thank you. I just spoke about my plan for cultivating strong leaders through intentional ongoing leadership training that we're going to bring in an outside consultant, survey what we're doing well and what we can improve on, develop a program that's tailored to our folks and support them. In terms of the large amount of retirements, that's something that has actually truly interested me in this position, especially right now, being the fire chief next year when we have a large wave of retirements, and being able to handpick your command staff and cultivate the next leaders in our organization is just something that I'm incredibly excited about and passionate about. And again, I spoke to how I plan to do that moving forward. And that concludes my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to the last question. So what methods or strategies would you recommend to enhance the Rockford Fire Department's recruitment efforts and expand the candidate pool? Please share any relevant experiences or initiatives that you have been involved in that have helped attract a diverse, qualified group of candidates. 3 minutes, you may begin.
Thank you. very similarly to what I just spoke about with wellness and making assumptions and missing the mark, I think that we're doing that as well in our recruitment. I think that we've made great strides. We've definitely moved the needle, and especially in terms of creating a workforce that's representative of our community, but we still have work to do. How I plan to fix this is meeting with our community leaders that represent our underrepresented groups and having the conversation about what are we doing wrong? Where are we missing the mark? How can we better get in front of our youth throughout our community and connect with them and provide for them information about the opportunities that this amazing career provides. In terms of what I've been involved in the past to support that, I support it currently in my role as an executive leader of the Rockford Fire Department, but more intimately when I was assigned to the Fire Prevention Division. One of my tasks was to support the recruiter and our recruitment efforts. So I would go out to career fairs, public education events, and speak to our youth and tell them all of the great benefits of being a Rockford firefighter, what expectations or what they could expect in a career in the fire service. So again, yeah, I think having the conversation with our community, being very intentional and tailoring our recruitment efforts in the future, will only continue to see that success grow. That concludes my answer. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, candidate. We appreciate you taking time to be with us tonight. We now ask that you leave the meeting. Thank you
so much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to the next candidate. So let me just get us ready for that. Next, we will have candidate Scott Bavery. He will be with us in just a moment. Candidate Bavery, are you able to turn on your microphone and camera?
There we go. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much.
Great.
Okay, well, welcome, candidate. Thank you for joining us tonight. So your first question is, what qualities, experiences, or perspectives do you have that set you apart from other candidates? Please feel free to provide examples to illustrate your points. You have 3 minutes. Please begin now.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Yeah, so what am I, as an external candidate, which I believe is a benefit, I'm going to start there. Having that external candidate, I'm able to kind of look a little bit more at the department a little bit different than the other candidates, right? I'm able to really take that 30,000-foot view at the department and bring a fresh perspective, hopefully with some new ideas, some different approaches. The ability to kind of look at those challenges objectively without being tied into kind of that's how we've always done things. I think that's a pretty typical thing I see around the country with fire departments. When you ask why you do a certain thing, it's like, well, we've always done it that way, which is a kind of a horrible reason to why we do things. So I also bring over like 2 decades of leadership experience with the Madison Fire Department, and probably more importantly, being a proven commitment to continuous learning and growth. I think that's always been something that I really strive for. So later on in life, I went and got my master's degree in emergency management services, and I didn't stop there. More recently, I just graduated from the Executive Fire Officer program at the National Fire Academy, which for those of you that don't know, it's one of the most advanced leadership programs in our profession. And that experience really challenged me to think differently. It pushed me to think more strategically. Right, it's allowed me to lead through some more change. It's prepared me basically for this exact role here of why why I'm pursuing here to be your next fire chief of Rockford.
Does that conclude your response?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Then we will move on to the next question. Question 2. Large call volume is an issue the department faces every day. There are several construction projects of apartment complexes, large packaging plants, assisted living facilities, and urgent care centers either under construction or planned for the near future. How will you ensure the department is able to manage its resources to provide these services when the department already feels overstretched? Again, 3 minutes, you may begin now.
Well, thank you. This is unfortunately a common thing we're seeing in the fire service nationwide. We're always asked to do more with less. Budgets are tight. We probably will get into the budget question, I'm sure, at some point too as well. But every dollar really matters. And so when we're starting to think of how we're overstretched, I think you still look at, my responsibility as a fire chief is to clearly demonstrate the value of the Rockford Fire Department, fire and EMS services. So in lives that we save, property protected, the economic stability of the city. So I use that data. It's been really successful for me in my career is really to focus on the data to show the impact of the work that the fire department does. So there's ways that you can explore alternative funding, but when you manage, an environment like Rockford with some of the difficult complexes, like the apartment complexes, some of those are significant hazards within the city. It's really important for our members to get in there and pre-plan these facilities to make sure that we have standing operating procedures and policies and guidelines to make sure that our firefighters are not only responding appropriately with the right approach, meaning like are we sending the right assets to this type of call, but are we doing it so in a healthy manner for our members as well? So those are some of the things that I think you really have to look at when you're talking about call volumes. Is there other alternatives that we can do to help some of the symptoms? Meaning, like, do we manage a certain call that does that specific incident require a different type of look? Meaning, do we still send 2 ladders, 3 engines, 2 ambulances to every single alarm call at a hospital, for example? Or do we restructure that and get more specific on what type of that particular emergency really needs? And looking at the data from past and where the future is of the fire service can help us kind of predict what needs are really specific to those specific areas. It's really part of that prevention whole plan, right? We're working through a community risk reduction plan, really making sure that the firefighters, the leadership team, and other aspects of the city really focus on certain aspects of Rockford, meaning certain communities throughout Rockford might have different risks. And you really need to dive into those specifically and not just kind of a broaden attack on the whole community. Get real specific in each one of those neighborhoods because they're all different, right? There might be a certain risk to an east side neighborhood in Rockford, and it might look way different on the west side. So to get real specific. So departments are definitely feeling overstretched.
If you could wrap up your response.
Yeah, I just wanted to end by departments are definitely feeling overstretched, but there's ways to, whether it's, community risk reduction, or if it's talking about, some type of alternative staffing model, you can really work within the means. And I think I bring that mindset in when I'm connected with members throughout the fire department nationally, and some really good initiatives to help in this question.
Thank you. Question 3. As chief of the Rockford Fire Department, what specific actions would you take to improve mental health support, strengthen morale, and manage workload demands effectively? Again, 3 minutes, you may respond.
Well, this hits home with me really importantly. When I was a captain, I was tasked with creating our first ever peer support team here in Madison, Wisconsin, and with no budget. At the time, I didn't really know what I was getting into because we're blessed here in the fire service, right? We have a group of men and women after a call that can come back to a table and talk about some feelings and what they've gone through and what they just saw. I'll tell you though, however, going through that program and getting out and learning more about peer support, it really changed my eyes. And when I brought that program, some of the ideas around the fire stations, I quickly realized when I was talking about it at the kitchen table, what conference I just went to or some trainings that I just had, there was definitely a need. Literally every time I left that kitchen table, someone would follow me out to the car and say, Captain at the time, this is something that we really need. We struggle with a lot of things on this job. So making sure that our peer support team members are there, making sure that EAP is available is definitely something that we take advantage of here in Madison. Morale, is another thing that I think communication really can dive into the morale aspect to manage that. It's not just top-down communication. It's allowing your members to really feel that their voice can be heard. Some of our best ideas come from the union, and to allow anyone on this job to be able to express what they're feeling is really powerful. And I'll tell you, if they're able to feel like they're themselves, can come to work every day and feel like they're themselves and their voice can be heard, they're going to work for Rockford for 30 years and be happy. Workload demands, I think, was the last one. Again, I think we got to start thinking creatively. We do a creative staffing model here in Madison, so it can help with some of the dollars, but it also allows people time off and be a little bit more flexible. I wrote my research paper on the 24-hour shift schedule and just the impacts of that, and there's some significant impacts with our job and just the schedule. If we want to be truly inclusive with everyone, maybe it's a time to get creative in Rockford with the scheduling, how we pick vacation, how we use comp time and some of those things to make sure that people can be home to get that mental health just as much as the physical health rest that they need.
Thank you. We'll move on to question 4. Question 4. In 2026, there could be a large number of retirements, especially among higher ranks. How would you cultivate strong leaders in the Rockford Fire Department? Again, 3 minutes, you may begin.
Well, thank you. This is something that's changing a lot, and again, in a lot of departments throughout the country. We kind of had a freeze a little bit with COVID. I think a lot of people either left right away or they just kind of wanted to see what was going to go on with the markets and everything else. So we're hiring a lot of young members. So there's going to see that nationally, that we're losing kind of that top end level. So my opinion, it really starts, it should have been starting a long time ago. Mentorship programs are key to start, getting people ready for positions before they get into those positions. Sometimes the way we run promotions in the fire service, people will go through the process of getting promoted, but they don't really know what they're getting into. We do a really good job with recruits, and we do a really good job, in my opinion, with paramedic school to get people prepared. But some of those other roles we can really increase. We can really work harder on those. So mentorship is a good start. Also, just employee development. I mentioned earlier that I'm a graduate of the Executive Fire Officer program. There's other opportunities for if someone doesn't want to go quite to that extreme. But man, that's given me the opportunity to be trained along some of the leaders in the fire service, and I highly recommend. I would push and encourage people to go take advantage of these free classes that the National Fire Academy puts on. Yes, it's time and it's commitment and it's work, but in the end, if the organization supports that and supports you through that, we're better off in the future as far as bringing strong leaders into the department. It used to be kind of a thing in the fire service, like we always wanted to teach our own people our way, and we thought that would be good enough. So here at Madison, right? But that philosophy has to go away. You have to get outside the fire service, outside of Rockford, outside of Illinois, and start learning from other people that are around the country, and start bringing in some of those other ideas. I personally found out some of the best leadership qualities and training that I've gone through aren't even necessarily within the fire service. There's some great podcasts and lectures you can go through, either military training officers, CEOs of companies, and obviously mentioned, the fire service. So there's a lot of ways that you can produce the next leaders. You just really have to focus on it, and kind of that mindset of just, knowing your job, mastering your job, teaching to the people below you, and learning the job above you. If you kind of have that same mindset throughout your organization, it can be really powerful, and it can really put Rockford, set Rockford up for decades to come.
Thank you. We'll move on to the last question, question 5. So what methods or strategies would you recommend to enhance the Rockford Fire Department's recruitment efforts and expand the candidate pool? Please share any relevant experiences or initiatives that you have been involved in that helped attract a diverse or qualified group of candidates. Again, 3 minutes, you may begin.
This is a great question. I know I'm talking with a few members on Rockford. Rockford's similar to Madison, just a smaller, a smaller size, but there's a lot of similarities there. We've seen recruitment and retention drop, but I'll tell you, not as much as some other states and other communities. And I love the fact that I was told that about Rockford. Still some challenges for sure. But what I do is I focus on 3 things coming to Rockford. That pipeline development. So connecting with schools and the community within Rockford, community groups, just to spark interest early. There's a lot of people, I think, in our communities that don't even realize that they can be firefighters. They don't have a parent that was a firefighter, an aunt and uncle, a friend. They just see people in big trucks drive by. So to actually make those connections early. I'm not talking like grade school. There's opportunities, right? We do a Camp Hero here to get that's really focused on young girls and women at school age kids to get exposed to not only fire but police and 911 dispatch. But I'm talking about a little bit older, in high school, in college, to just kind of spark that interest early. And then when you do get hired, I mentioned mentoring. So making sure that new hires feel supported from day one, having a mentor. So the idea is that they're not going to, leave for another job. And I'm happy to hear that Rockford's doing pretty well in their retention. But there's still a lot that can be, there's just so many opportunities for kids these days and young adults. So making sure that firefighters have opportunities to advance, making sure that the health and wellness, side of Rockford's policies are in place. So Rockford is seen as a long-term career home for a lot of people. Because when we invest in our people, we keep the talent right here, right? And it just builds the department stronger. So in Madison, I actually oversaw our recruitment team. We have a recruitment team here of about a dozen members. I actually changed the recruitment team a little bit, and I'm glad to say that even once I've been removed from the team through promotion, that team has even gone even further than what I dreamed of. It basically took this team of 12 people, and we realized that it's too big of a thing to just have 12 people do the recruitment. They're definitely a main component of our recruitment, but it's a truly department-wide initiative. So if you're working out at the gym and you meet someone that is a nice, good person, you can get them started with connecting them to a recruiter. Giving, just kind of keeping that in people's mindset that everyone should be out recruiting people. And I'll tell you, our numbers have gone down, but the idea is hopefully you're recruiting not just the quality or the quantity of people, but more so the quality. So even though the numbers are going down, you're bringing in top level candidates. And
okay. If I could have you wrap up your response.
So very, very important. Again, it's something that's a national focus. And I'm glad to say that I've had some experience in it, at least over a year that I was overseeing the recruitment team here in Madison, and we saw some really strong strides forward. And I'm really even more pleased that it's continuing on without me in my new role. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. We appreciate you taking time to talk with us tonight. We now ask that you leave the meeting, and thank you again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We will now bring the next candidate in. Can you hear me, candidate?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you for being here. So we will now ask you a series of 5 questions. So first question, what unique qualities, experiences, or perspectives do you have that set you apart from other candidates? Please provide examples to illustrate your points. You will have 3 minutes to begin. You may begin now.
Thank you. First, I'd like to welcome you into my home, and I appreciate the police and fire commissioners allowing me the opportunity to be part of this final 5. I have been on the Rockford Fire Department for 25 years, and during that time, I have had the opportunity to grow as a leader, train across the country, and respond to some very serious incidents. All of those things are qualities that should be present in the chief of the Rockford Fire Department. Specifically, I feel like one of my best qualities is that I identify myself as a transformational leader. Right now, we have some things happening in our department with our staffing of the ambulances, and how we are responding to some calls, and that has been a very big change for us because during my career, outside of the last 3 months, we have operated 100% in the same manner. So to have a leader that can explain and process some of these decisions and share the vision of what we want to get to as a department, I feel like is a quality that I possess. I have developed myself along the lines of the National Fire Protection Associations in the development of a chief fire officer. I have completed a bachelor's degree and a master's degree from Western Illinois University. My master's degree is in public safety administration. I also am credentialed as a chief fire officer through the Center for Public Safety, and I'm also a chief training officer. One of the things that I have done immensely in my career, I was even the training coordinator for a year. I was been very active in training. Everything that happens within our operation is based on what we learn how to do throughout our career, and I've been very active in that. I'm also currently in the last 2.5 months of becoming a certified chief fire officer through the Office of State Fire Marshal, and that meets the JPR requirements that are set forth by the standards for Fire Officer 3 and 4.
Does that conclude your response?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Question 2. Large call volume is an issue the department faces every day. There are several construction projects of apartment complexes, large packaging plants, assisted living facilities, and urgent care centers either under construction or planned for the near future. How will you ensure the department is able to manage its resources to provide these services when the department already feels overstretched? Again, 3 minutes. You may begin now.
Thank you. So whenever a community develops buildings that are going to bring people into the city, you have to have a plan for it. And I feel like as the fire chief, there's 2 ways you can manage the calls. One, you can throw more resources at it, which may not actually be the best thing to do all the time, or we can create a better community risk reduction program. We have in place right now a mobile integrated health program, and then we also have fire protection safety programs. I feel like we have an opportunity to grow both of those to decrease the number of calls that come in from them by providing the community with education, appropriate use of 911, some self-care, some self-preparation, and that ultimately reduces the number of calls that happen that make it to the 911 center. If you can reduce those number of calls and make it to the 911 center, it's less responses for the fire companies. As well, we also have some exciting new processes in place within that 911 center where we're utilizing some different resources, a nurse in the 911 center to maybe point some of the calls that do make it to the 911 center to a different place to seek the assistance with what they need. I do feel like our personnel are overstretched. I do feel like we made some strides. Chief Pankow last year on January 1st was able to negotiate another engine and another ambulance, and those are both far east side, which is the direction the city is growing. It's the direction that the population is at during the daytime. So we have seen some improvements in those areas, but we definitely have the opportunities for some more growth.
Thank you. Moving on to question 3. As the chief of the Rockford Fire Department, what specific actions would you take to improve mental health support, strengthen morale, and manage workload demands effectively? Again, 3 minutes, you may begin.
Well, I do feel like the workload demands is probably the number one thing. I feel like if we can manage what's happening to the responders a little bit better, I feel like the other two sort of fall in line and work there. I do feel like there are some opportunities within that 911 center to change, not just change the response, but also change who is responding to what and when. We used to use a still-based response. We switched to AVL, and that has moved some responses from areas that were placed as stations based on our stills. So we've had a lot of changes in our technology, and sometimes the changes we haven't kept up with the response plans matching the technology. As far as mental health and morale within the fire department, I as a district chief, I operate with the responders every day. I do see it, and I feel like the number one way to strengthen morale and the mental health support of our people is to re-engage as chief officers our personnel and be back in the stations, be present, let them see that we have ownership of what's happening to them, and we're working to make some of these things that are small a little bit better. There are things that we can do as that I can do as the chief that will change morale, and I feel like some of those are improving station pride, allowing station pride, creating some of that competition that used to exist between the stations in responses and ownership of what you were doing within your station.
Thank you. Next question, question 4. In 2026, there could be a large number of retirements, especially among higher ranks. How would you cultivate strong leaders in the Rockford Fire Department? 3 minutes, you may begin.
So in 2026, there could be a large number of retirements. The thing that I view as the chief of this department is we're cultivating those leaders right now. We are making it so that if senior people leave, we will replace them. We have the lists in place. We have the programs in place. We have task books in place that will develop district chiefs, captains, and lieutenants. For me, when I look at the retirements in 2026, the challenge that I find is going to be replacing the experience we have as firefighters that are going to become the company officers. We could have 40 to 45 firefighters in our fire department that would have less than 3 years of experience, and within those 3 years of experience, half of those could not be paramedics yet. So when I look at the challenge of the large number of retirements, I'm very secure that our leadership will continue because we have the people in place now that will be our leaders. Our firefighters now are very strong. They're intelligent. They're trained well. And they like what they do, and that will continue into their leadership spots. The part that makes me nervous is what happens to the experience that we have with the responders on the back of our fire trucks.
Thank you. Then moving on to the last question, question 5. What methods or strategies would you recommend to enhance the Rockford Fire Department's recruitment efforts and expand the candidate pool? Please share any relevant experiences or initiatives that you've been involved in that have helped attract a diverse or qualified group of candidates. 3 minutes, you may begin.
So I will say that recruitment is not just a problem for the Rockford Fire Department, it's a problem across our state. One of the things that we talk about in the chief fire officer class is some of the other departments that may not be considered a destination department like we are, only being able to get 1 or 2 people on a list. They hire those people and they're still 3 or 4 short. So on the positive side of recruitment for the Rockford Fire Department is we are always able to fill a list. What I would like to see us do better in our recruitment is take advantage of the programs that are in place. We have a full-time recruiter that has a lot of experience on the state and the national forefront that we could tap into and sort of let that recruiter drive what's happening as the subject matter expert. As far as recruiting diverse groups of qualified individuals, I think the important sentence there is qualified. We have to have people who are ready to come in and do the work. Working for the Rockford Fire Department is very hard. And so it takes a certain personality to come in there and succeed. We encourage success at every level, but somebody has to be able to want to do that. I feel like when I look around at the people who I work with now, we do exhibit a great level of diversity compared to some of our comparables across the state. Our police and fire commission do a great job of making lists of people who we are able to turn into good firefighters. And through expanded recruitment efforts of following the national standards and the state standards, I feel like that's one of our strengths right now is we're able to recruit good people in numbers that are better than other places.
Thank you, candidate. That concludes our questions for tonight. So we appreciate you participating and we ask that you now leave the meeting. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will now bring the next candidate into the room. So just bear with me for just a minute. Okay, candidate Tayo, you should be able to turn on your camera and microphone.
Okay, hello.
Hello, let me. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, but I'll ask the questions and then let you do the talking. So thank you for joining us tonight. We have a series of 5 questions for you. So the first one, what unique qualities, experiences, or perspectives do you have that set you apart from other candidates? Please feel free to provide examples to illustrate your points. You have 3 minutes. You may begin now.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who took the time to submit questions for this process. I think, I can speak for all of us when I say, we're just excited about the opportunity and I'm looking forward to the next few minutes that I have with you. So what experiences, qualities, and perspectives do I have that set me apart from other candidates? First, I'd like to say that I respect everybody who I'm in this pool with. I have a tremendous amount of respect for them and what they've done in their careers. And so I feel very honored to be a part of this group of people. I think something that sets me apart quality wise is my resilience and my ambition. You know, I came onto this job 16 years ago, and I was fortunate enough to promote early in the ranks, making lieutenant and captain early on in my career and having the experience to work shoulder to shoulder with our personnel in the field, responding to calls and developing that skill set for me as a leader. And so some of those things, you know, promoting early, you know, you learn to be resilient, you learn to grow as a leader in our organization. And so a lot of that ambition has fared me well throughout my career. I think that some of the experiences that I've had that have been different than the other counterparts, at least some of them, has been my experience as a fire training coordinator. I spent 3.5 years in that position, appointed by the fire chief to look at our training division, to train our new recruits, develop them, to make them the firefighters that they are and serve our community, and also train our entire department and create a robust curriculum to develop and to meet the objectives that we have annually for our training program. And so that experience for me has provided me a lot of perspective. But I think one of the unique things for me, perspective-wise, is my time in our accreditation program and on our accreditation team, and as the accreditation manager, has given me a lot of administrative perspective throughout my career. As you know, accreditation touches every corner of our organization through strategic planning, through identifying our risk and how we respond to those risks, and how we look at our policies and protocols and how we grow in the model of continuous improvement. So my experience and perspective administratively has been pretty vast since 2011, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be a part of those initiatives. But something I think that sets me apart, and I'm going to speak personally here, is that, you know, going through this process to be the fire chief of the Rockford Fire Department is not just a professional decision for me. I was born and raised in this community, so this is a very personal decision. I think that's something that might set me apart just slightly, because I know my connection to this community of Rockford, growing up as a young kid over near Seminary and 15th Ave, and then you know, developing as a young person in this community, and then coming back and living in this community. And so I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've had. This is my home, and so I'm very fortunate and humbled to be here as a candidate for the next fire chief of the Rockford Fire Department.
Great, thank you. Question 2. Large call volume is an issue the department faces every day. There are several construction projects of apartment complexes, large packaging plants, assisted living facilities, and urgent care centers either under construction or planned for the near future. How will you ensure the department is able to manage its resources to provide these services when the department already feels overstretched? Again, 3 minutes, you may begin.
So I see a couple things here in this question. Number one, it's an exciting time to be a member of the Rockford community. We do have growth. We are growing as a community. I know that our city leadership has done a phenomenal job to make sure that we are growing and that we have the economic development that we need, and we have the neighborhood initiatives that we have to make sure that this community does grow. And so this is exciting. And yes, does that strain our services as a fire department? Absolutely. So we have to learn how to grow with our community. And I think, you know, as I mentioned previously, I've been a part of our strategic planning and our accreditation process for quite some time now. And in 2021, I became the accreditation manager. And part of that responsibility is conducting our community risk assessment standard of cover document. And what is that? Every 5 years, we take a look at how we distribute our resources throughout our community, how we concentrate our resources, and how reliable those resources are to respond. And how we measure that is how quickly we can respond to those calls. And so we are always advocating for better response to meet our objectives and to meet our benchmarks, because that's what the community needs. And as the fire chief, I need to make sure that I'm focused on two specific things when making a decision and advocating for additional resources. Number one, what's best for the citizens of Rockford, and what's good for our personnel, and what allows our personnel to be able to deliver the quality of service that we need. And so when we look at the expansion in our community and we look at the resources that we have, yes, we have increased our workload over the years, and yes, that has been felt by our personnel. And so as the fire chief, I would advocate that we have the resources that we need to respond promptly to those situations, but also are there ways that we can grow in our organization in other ways and deliver efficiencies with our services? And I think we have some initiatives that we've implemented right now and in our dispatch center and trying to triage some of these more non-emergent calls and creating space for our emergent services and our emergent apparatus to be more readily available to respond to those emergency incidents. And so as the fire chief, I would make sure that we continue to move with those initiatives. Yes, I'm always going to advocate what's best for the community and best for our personnel, but there is some space within our organization, especially with how we deploy our resources, that we could be more efficient in creating more space and eliminating the workload on our personnel.
Thank you. Question 3. As the chief of the Rockford Fire Department, what specific actions would you take to improve mental health support, strengthen morale, and manage workload demands more effectively? 3 minutes, you may begin.
So this is an exciting question for me. I hear, I hear that mental health, morale, and workload on our personnel. And these are 3 things that have been near and dear to me over my 16-year career. When Chief Bergson reached out to create the peer support program, I was one of the first ones to raise my hand and say, let me get involved. I spent 10 years in that program developing mental health resources for our people to make sure that we have mental health professionals in our community that can respond to the need whenever the need arises. We have a very robust peer support team. We've got people involved. We have been at it for the past decade to make sure that our people have the resources that they need. And so the mental health piece to me is very personal. It's been a passion project of mine throughout my career. And as the fire chief, I would make sure that we continue to provide those resources and develop those key relationships with mental health professionals in our community. And when we talk about morale, this has been a topic that I know that was asked in the last chief process. This is a discussion around, the lunch table, the dinner table. And it is important that we recognize it. And I think when you address issues of morale, it's not a one-size-fits-all fix. I think when I have these discussions with individuals in our department and individuals on my crew and throughout my career, morale affects everybody differently. And so as the fire chief, I think some things that we could do to support morale is, number one, we have to listen to our people. I would like to formalize an employee engagement process that we participate in every year to make sure that we are listening to every person, that everyone has a voice, to make sure that we capture the great ideas, we capture the concerns, because that's how we learn from our personnel. I would advocate as the fire chief for things that are going to support our personnel to boost morale. I would support our personnel with those mental health resources. And I feel like, when we address the workload issue and we address the mental health issues that we have, and making sure that we have the resources available, as the fire chief, I do need to advocate for our people when it comes to workload. And in this last strategic planning process, which I was in charge of developing, we spent a lot of time talking about that. All of our internal stakeholders, how do we assist our personnel? They have been absorbing the call volume, which has grown 3.1% every year. And that load has fallen on them. And so for me, stepping into this role, I would advocate for the resources that we need to be able to address some of the workload issues, but also find ways now where we can be a little bit more efficient in how we deliver our services and keep some of those non-emergent calls carved out and address them with other partnerships through the community and other resources and services that are available.
Thank you. Moving on to question 4. In 2026, there could be a large number of retirements, especially among higher ranks. How would you cultivate strong leaders in the Rockford Fire Department? Again, 3 minutes, you may respond.
So great question here. Yes, we do have the possibility that a lot of our senior people may be leaving us, which is, leaving the Rockford Fire family to go start their retirement career. And I think that there are some things that we have in place already that has started to address that. I know Chief Panko and I had worked very closely with, training people and getting more people on board to make sure that we are kind of getting ahead of the curve, that we can be able to absorb some of that impact. But cultivating strong leaders in the Rockford Fire Department, I think that, first and foremost, when I see that this might be a challenge, I also see an opportunity. And what I mean by that is, we have an opportunity here to like you said, cultivate those strong leaders and create that leadership culture, that servanthood leadership culture that supports our personnel. At the 2024 CPSC Excellence Conference, I presented alongside Chief Panko specifically on this topic. We put a lot of work and weight and responsibility on our line officers. And so how do we meet them in the middle? How do we show our support? How do we cultivate them? And, I think that it's important, when we look at that we are investing in those young leaders, that we're giving them the training that they need. We're giving them the recognition and the encouragement that they need, because they have a tough job to do. They are the backbone of this organization that helps our young people, manage and be resilient on the fire company. And they also, develop into the future of our organization. And I think that's what we need to focus on here. Is it's not just about 2026, it's about 2036. And what does that look like? And what does this department look like with a strong leadership force? And so for that, I would invest in those leaders and make sure that we give them the resources that they need to be successful.
Thank you. Question 5. What methods or strategies would you recommend to enhance the Rockford Fire Department's recruitment efforts and expand the candidate pool? Please share any relevant experiences or initiatives that you have been involved in that have helped attract a diverse or qualified group of candidates. Again, 3 minutes, you may respond.
So I think we're fortunate in the Rockford Fire Department to have a recruitment position, and our recruiter has done a phenomenal job. As the fire chief, I would want to make sure that we support those efforts by giving him more resources to be able to use out in the field and capturing the candidates we want to invite to be a part of this great organization. I think that with our recruitment efforts, we definitely need to make sure that we are communicating effective and efficiently. I mean, it's 2025. I would want to develop a robust social media outreach that's very intentional with how we're communicating with young people and how we're inviting them to be a part of this organization. And I would also invest in our Explorer program. We have grown that over the years. The high school students come out to the training academy. And when I was the fire training coordinator, I had some experience and involvement with that, showing young people what it's like to be in the fire service, showing them what it's like to be a part of the Rockford Fire Department. What I would say is where we could improve that process is when they get to the point where they graduate high school and they leave our Explorer program, we need to make sure that we're bridging the gap. And I love the initiative that Rockford has with Rockford Promise and helping young people get their college education. I think the Rockford Fire Department should look at something like that and develop a program where, yes, you've come through our Explorer program as a high school student, and now we're going to help you become a fire service professional. And we're going to bridge the gap from the time you're 18 to the time you're of age to be able to work in our organization. And so for that, I think we need to definitely provide more resources and assist in our recruitment efforts. But we need to bridge that gap and make sure that the people that we train in high school come back to us when they're old enough to work here.
Great, thank you, candidate. That concludes our questions for tonight, so we appreciate you taking time to be with us tonight. We ask that you now leave the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, we will bring in our final candidate. Candidate Morris, are you able to turn on your camera and microphone? Candidate Morris, are you able to turn on your microphone and camera?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Are you able to turn on a camera?
Yes, I thought it was on. I'm sorry. Let's see if that works here. How's that?
That is good. Okay, Great. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
So we have a series of 5 questions for you. So first one, what unique qualities, experiences, or perspectives do you have that set you apart from other candidates? Please provide examples to illustrate your points. You have 3 minutes. You may begin now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. It's very exciting for me being a Rockford resident. So what sets me apart is that I have been a organizational donor my entire career. I've been a part of every specialty team, committee, and project that I've been able to that I've been asked to join. So with that, I've been on over a dozen committees and about two dozen different projects. Not only do I have experience on the line, I went to the fire prevention division. I was a firefighter paramedic. I was a fire inspector, fire investigator. I also was a driver, a lieutenant, a captain, and I've been assigned various tasks to work with different groups and committees throughout the city. So I'm familiar with all the other departments of the city, being the building department, our community development, our water, sewer, and any of our public relations and our police department. So those are some unique areas I've been able to work in. With that, I have been assigned also as an acting division chief, approximately 35 to 40 times per year over the last 7 years. So with that, that's a unique spot for me to be in. I've been able to be involved with our ISO rating, which occurs every 3 to 5 years. I've also been involved in being able to be an instructor at our academy, and not only the academy, but with our new lieutenants, our new drivers and officers as well. So being able to teach probably about half the department or so now, with furthering on how to rate reports and become a better officer and better in their positions. So those areas are what set me apart. I'm also been very involved with different committees throughout the city, being involved with the Illinois Fire Safety Alliance, and also being the president of the Illinois Association of Arson Investigators, which is a 600-person group. What's unique about me as well is I did go back knowing that I needed some more operational experience. So I needed to go back, even though I was downtown, part of the administration, and I took 2 pay grade deductions to go back onto the operational line to work as a firefighter paramedic. And then ultimately I became a lieutenant and captain. Then I retested and came back to the fire prevention division to again be a part of headquarters and are part of our administration again, where I'm at now.
Thank you very much. Moving on to question 2. Large call volume is an issue the department faces every day. There are several construction projects of apartment complexes, large packaging plants, assisted living facilities, and urgent care centers either under construction or planned for the near future. How will you ensure the department is able to manage its resources to provide these services when the department already feels overstretched? 3 minutes to respond. You may begin now.
Thank you. So our city has grown exponentially, which has been great for our economy and our revenue. Being here and living here myself, I've been afforded to see the city grow, not only in our downtown, but in all the areas you just discussed. So having that revenue and having that expansion of buildings, property, people is important, but it also does beg the question, how will we cover that? So we've headed in the right direction. We have to work with the city and our labor management to make sure that we're doing it properly with all the rules set in place, and we have agreed upon expectations. So with that, we understand that our call volume will expand, and it has expanded. It's more than doubled since I've been here. We've started taking progressive steps already, but I'd like to see it move forward even more with adding an additional engine and our 8th ambulance. To make sure that we cover the call volume, we have to go back to reviewing our accreditation, which I've been a part of since 2011, and look at our strategic plan. And it does address those items in there. So currently we are moving Station 10, which I agree with. It is just being relocated. It's not a new station, but that will help with some of the coverage heading to the east side of Rockford. It'll help with Station 5 and Station 11, which has one of our biggest gaps currently. So as we progress, we have to continually evaluate. And the leader has to, especially the fire chief, they have to adapt. They have to see these things coming. And they also have to work with the entities that we answer to and work for and make sure that our people are well prepared, well trained, not overworked, and then also are able to respond for our citizens. So we have to make sure, one, the citizens are covered. So if that means we need to expand and looking at some of the operations and changing some of the items, so be it. And also adding on like Station 10, it'll have extra room. So if we want to grow in the future, we might be able to add more ambulances or an additional apparatus if that time comes. One of the items that we have to look at is addressing the EMS calls. We have an observant amount of EMS calls that are not emergent. So adding just another ambulance or two would be important for response times and help with our IRF, but it does not address some of the low acuity calls. So I would like to add an additional, run a pilot program, run an additional 2 people on, say, an SUV or another ambulance to address some of those low acuity calls prior to tying up one of our emergency responders, being an engine ladder, one of our ALS ambulances. So I think with that, and also supporting the nurse in the 911 center, because that's finally starting to take place here, and then look at possibly partnering up with some other transport services that can respond at a quicker pace or immediately to help relieve us with some of that pressure.
Thank you. Moving on to question 3. As the chief of the Rockford Fire Department, what specific actions would you take to improve mental health support, strengthen morale, and manage workload demands effectively? You have 3 minutes. You may begin.
I believe coming in initially on day one, setting clear expectations for our command structure, and then meeting with each individual district chief, captain, lieutenant, to hear their expectations and talk about what's actually needed, what their needs are. For mental health and their well-being, it's important that we take consideration of them. These are our folks who are entering our communities' homes, and they are the ones out there at the face of the department working hard and making sure that the task that's presented in front of them is completed and making sure that our citizens are safe. So working with them, making sure that our mental health committee, as robust as it is continually supported and upgraded further than forward from where it's at right now. I'd like to see us partner with some of our resources outside of here to have more training and more mental health awareness for our line personnel. I think one of the big things that would help with some of the morale and some of their better, their health wellness would be to actually add some training to our middle management. So for our lieutenants, our captains, our district chiefs, I'd like to bring in and have them all trained on further leadership abilities. So that means on how to be a leader, different leadership types, how to address problems when they arrive, how to be an empathetic listener, and make sure that their employees are seen and that they're heard and they're felt that we understand what's going on. Because if they felt they're seen, heard, and we're listening to them, we can help correct the problem, correct morale, and then also start to manage some of the issues that may come up.
Thank you. Moving on to question 4. In 2026, there could be a large number of retirements, especially among higher ranks. How would you cultivate strong leaders in the Rockford Fire Department? 3 minutes, you may begin.
Well, being a big part of training my whole career, I enjoy it. And so for cultivating strong leaders, it starts with strong training. It also comes up with, it also has to do with being empathetic and listening to their needs, but also holding the line and making sure they're accountable. But we have to be accountable. We have to show them how to be accountable for themselves as well. So with the possibility of large number of retirements, we have to prepare for that, which we have. We've been overhiring with an additional academy right now, which hasn't worked out exactly how we wanted, but it's in the right direction. So with that, I would like to see us move forward at a much faster pace with our recruiting efforts. We have a full-time recruiter. He does a phenomenal job, but some areas that we need help with would be gaining more applicants who are ready to go, meaning they're physically fit and are mentally ready to go. We've seen a shortage nationwide, and here in Rockford, it's not unique just to us. So I believe starting in the schools, going back to the high schools, and recruiting similar to what the military has done. So in the high schools, we have a program that's called our Explorer Post program. So in that, it's geared at high school students to not only see what we do on the fire and EMS side, but also get to partake in it. So every other week, they get to come out and work on some practical skills. They work on leadership skills, how to build a team, how to communicate, and also how to present themselves professionally. Excuse me. So with that, I'd like to see our Explorer program proceed. One of the committees I sit on is the Fire Advisory Committee. That's a statewide committee. And currently that committee is working with the State Board of Education to obtain dual credit through the State Fire Marshal's Office to our area high schools. So RPS 205 students possibly if we were able to get into this program and it was to move forward, I'd like to see us see our students at RPS 205 high school age become or engaged in having a dual credit. We have the wonderful Rock Valley College right here, who then has a fire science program. We can then tailor them right into that once they hit 18 and graduate high school to be to get their basic fire academy completed, their basic fire other classes, and also their EMT basic license possibly. So with that, that's one approach. The second would then be to explore an apprentice program. I know there's some state funding out there for an apprenticeship program, and that's to grab students after 18 that maybe weren't in college, but then it can come to the fire department and start to also work with our training academy to then gain some experiences and some practical aspects so that they can further and be better prepared to possibly test and then work for us. One other item for retirements is looking at the possibility of hiring either laterals from other departments, which we would have to take a close look at that, and also maybe hiring just paramedics. We'd have to work with our labor management, but I think bringing them in, having them as union members, but bringing in just paramedics to help supplement some of the shortages we may have could expedite it and actually save the city some money.
Thank you. And then last question, question 5. What methods or strategies would you recommend to enhance the Rockford Fire Department's recruitment efforts and expand the candidate pool? Please share any relevant experiences or initiatives that you've been involved in that have helped attract a diverse or qualified group of candidates. 3 minutes, you may begin now.
So with that, I think going into the resource hospitals that we have here and promoting ourselves again with the paramedic aspect of it, because it's 90% of what we do. We need to tailor not only to the fire and rescue side, because those are important and we don't want to shy away from training and being prepared because they happen every single day. And our staff do an incredible job of correcting those, or responding to those. But we need to look at the medical side, the paramedic side. So I just previously discussed basically our recruitment plan, but I think that starts now. I think we get back into the schools, and what we have is possibly during, say, a study hall hour, not lunch so much, but then maybe we work with the schools to help identify students who are more interested in this type of work. We work with the RPS academies currently, and we participate in some of the leadership programs they have and some of the recruitment efforts that they have. They bring us in. So I think working back with the schools and public and private schools both, actually, we need to address the students that have an interest early on. If we can engage them early, then when they hit 18, hopefully we've gotten them in our Explorer program. Maybe we've gotten them into a future apprenticeship program, possibly getting dual credit, and then getting them into Rock Valley possibly, or another university that would actually get them a degree in fire or EMS. And then our goal is to keep them here in Rockford, bring them back, so that we can have a pipeline of our residents or the folks that live in the area to come back and work and live in Rockford. Talking about diversity, we've done a good job with getting a more diverse application pool over the last 4 to 5 years of our testing. It has increased and is starting to match the percentage of our citizens that we see in the city of Rockford. So I think we're gaining some strategies, that we're gaining some improvement there. We can't quit now, but we have to keep moving forward for sure. So I think moving forward with that, with our plan, that will be the goal. And I think we can actually make some traction and continue to improve.
Thank you, candidate. That concludes our questions for tonight. So we appreciate you being here with us. You may leave.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone from the community who has joined us today. Again, we will make this presentation available, and it will be via the city's website. Thank you all. Have a good night.